This is Halloween, and if you love modern marvels, mysteries, haunted places, cemeteries, and things of that nature, you may want to subscribe because I'm going to be taking you to a new place every week. Today's episode will be the third episode that I'm actually doing on Nashville, Tennessee. There was just so many things to do and see there that I wanted to share all of it with you, or at least the great majority of it with you, because it was a really cool experience, and I hope that if you haven't been to Nashville, that at least it's on your bucket list of things to do, because there's definitely a lot to see and do there, and you're probably going to need more than 2 visits, or even at least more than 4 days like what we had, but you will really enjoy it. The first place I'm going to talk about is where we actually stayed, which is the Union Station Hotel, established in 1900 as a train station. Some reports claim that room 711 is actually haunted by the ghost of a young lady, age 20, named Abigail. This young woman, when it was a train station back in the early 1900s, had come, as many people had at that time, to see her love off to World War II. So there was about 200,000 troops leaving out of that train station at the time. So of course, when her loved was called to duty, she was there to see him off to France, where he was headed. And after the war, she arrived back at the train station to see him home. And unfortunately, instead of welcoming him back home, she learned that he would not be coming home. And at this point, she went into a very aggressive despair, so much so that she threw herself in front of a train. So she is said to haunt room 711. There are 7 floors in the Union Station Hotel, so it would be the very top floor. Room 711 has experienced phones ringing when they're not expecting a call, and they go to pick up the phone and no one's on the other end of the line. They've also reported that strange noises have been heard both inside the room and on the roof just above. They've also reported seeing this young lady roaming about the hallways looking for her lost love. There have been several accounts of these sort of happenings in that room and on that floor. But another more recent account was actually from an employee. This employee had gone out for a smoke break, and as they were puffing their cigarette, in the cloud of smoke, they saw the image of a woman. Now, it was kind of misty, and it didn't look like it was a real woman. It looked like it was a pareidolia, which is when you can make images out of something. A lot of people that are, claim to be ghost hunters experience this phenomenon where a tree looks like there's a face in it or something like that. It's where your mind basically makes up images, and that's what this employee thought that she was seeing, was like the smoke had created an image of a woman. But when the smoke cleared, there was a woman standing there. So she proceeded to follow this lady, because not only was it strange to her, because I guess it was a later hour of the night that somebody was actually out there and dressed so nicely. The clothes this woman was actually wearing was more of a period clothing. People didn't really dress that way anymore. So curious to find out what this woman was all about, the employee pursued her, and as she turned the corner, the woman had vanished. She was a little shooken up by that. She kind of knew what she had seen, and she looked all inside for her, and a little sweaty and a little wore out. She went back to her job, whatever she was doing that night. Later on, she had kind of de-stressed a little bit and was wanting to go out for another smoke break, and she was feeling a little better, and she claims to have seen a soldier standing out on the mezzanine. And he was just kind of standing there with his back to her. She thought that was kind of odd because there was no soldiers really staying there at the time. But she kind of didn't think anything of it and continued, sitting there puffing on her cigarette. I guess he had turned around at some point right before her eyes. So she was able to get a glimpse of him, and then he vanished. So there has been many accounts of ghostly activity at this location. However, when we were there, we didn't experience anything. We took our REM pod, which we recently purchased. We did a little session, but we still need to kind of learn how to better use our equipment. We didn't have anything significant happen, and I think really that Nashville was just really loud, too loud for something like that at the time. We even went into an empty room in the dark and tried to get any activity, but we were also staying on the first floor, just 7 floors down from where all the activity is said to have happened. So we weren't really in a hot spot for that. But if you want to go check it out yourself, I'm going to show you some pictures here. I do recommend it highly. It's pricey. And if you want to sit there in the bar there and have drinks, they're very expensive. So, like for one beer is $13 for one beer. We had an appetizer of truffle fries. I think they were about $15 for just fries and a garlic aioli, but they were really good. So if you want a late night snack and you're down, have the truffle fries there at the hotel. They were awesome. It's a gorgeous hotel. It's done in Romanesque Gothic is the name of the architecture, or the style of architecture it depicts, and it's stunning. And I recommend it to anybody. Even if you're just stopping through, maybe just have a snack in the bar and listen to the live music they play down in the lobby. You won't be disappointed. Enjoy. Great. There are over 700 churches in the Nashville area, all of them uniquely ornate in their design and architecture. Nashville is part of the Bible Belt, so that would be a thing there. And it is awesome just to wander the streets and look at the beautiful architecture of all these different and unique churches. The Cornerstone Pentecostal Christian megachurch, hey Johnny Depp, is the largest out of all of the churches. And the Cross Point Community Church is where all of the local celebrities go. So you might want to check those out while you're there. We didn't actually go inside of any of them, but you're not going to go a city block without running into a church. In fact, the inside of the stadium there had to be designed with the churches in mind, because bars and liquor, they're required to be so far from a church or a religious meeting place. So they had to actually design the concession stands that served alcohol with that in mind. So that's how many churches there are. It's a little wild to think about, but anyway, the architecture of these churches, it's nothing less than stunning, and it's going to be a great part of your trip when you do decide to go to Nashville. Visiting the Parthenon is a must-do when you're in Nashville. Both the building and the statue on the second floor of Athena, the Greek statue, are full-scale monuments that replicate the ones in Greece. So it's a really cool thing to see. It's very breathtaking. The statue of Athena holding Nike in her hand was all carved out of a single slab of marble. So to go in and see this, you're just going to be amazed at the small details and the artwork and the time that went into creating this beautiful replica. It is very affordable to go. I think it's only $10 to get in for adults. So it's just a no-brainer. You got to go see it. This replica of the Parthenon was established in 1897 for a centennial celebration they were doing there in Tennessee at that time. And if you are active military, be sure to show your ID. You are getting in for free. Nestled into an alleyway between 3rd and 4th Avenue there in Nashville, you'll find Printer's Alley. In the 1940s, it was a nightclub district, and during that time, many musicians played there before they were famous. Waylon Jennings played there, Hank Williams Sr., and even Janis Joplin all played there before they were famous. At the beginning of the 20th century, there were 2 large newspapers coming out of that alley, as well as 10 print shops and 13 publishers. That's where it got its name, Printer's Alley. So if you are wondering, be sure that when you're visiting Printer's Alley that you go to the best places there, the Bourbon Street Boogie Bar. And in this place, you're going to have some of the best blues music, and it's quaint, but at the same time it's not really crowded. You can get in there, get yourself a drink, usually get yourself a seat. People are usually just passing through there, it seems. So if you're standing up, it won't be long until you have a place to sit. People will come in, they'll listen to a few songs, and they go to the next place. Nashville is really a place to discover a lot of music. There's so much there, and every different venue has different kind of music. You're going to hear country, you're going to hear rock, you're going to hear blues, and all the way from, again, 9 a.m. in the morning they get started, and all the way till 3 a.m. in the morning. So it's almost 24 hours, and it's in every place you go. And if you're into karaoke, the best place in town to go is Lonnie's Western World, right there in Printer's Alley. It's a great place to go for karaoke. It's not overcrowded. You'll be able to sing several songs, and we really thoroughly enjoyed it.
I'm just looking. I think that night Cherokee County, South Carolina, they got a little bit of truth.
Robert talks about my hometown. If you've ever been on Interstate 85 between, say, Atlanta and Charlotte, you'll go through a little town and there's a water tower over to the side. It's supposed to be a beach, but it actually looks like somebody might have sat down in the wrong spot and got a little information. That beach could definitely use some ointment on it. There's no doubt about it. I got to tell you one more thing about James Hampton before I get on my home folks. I used to work at the city swimming pool. Well, first of all, I told you about James. He lived at my great-grandma's place. As soon as my great-granddaddy died, my two old maid aunts just ran his tail off as quick as they could. It wasn't a week, he was gone. So he went from living in a log cabin, milking cows, fishing, living in the country, to public housing in a week's time. Imagine, wouldn't be no fun. And I worked in the city swimming pool about a block over. So James is one of them kind of fellas, if you walk through his yard, he might talk ugly to you. So he wasn't real popular around these young kids where he was living. So I'm living, those same kids came over to the pool every day. I was buddies with all of them. And one day, my mama said, you know, James is staying at Grenard Court, you ought to go check him. I had no idea. I went by to see James. Next day at the pool, the little fellas went, hey, Kevin, how you know Mr. Hamp? I said, man, I know Mr. Hamp my whole life. So we talked, man. Taught me how to fish, the whole shebang. So they eased up on James a little bit. And James eased up on them a little bit. So one day they come to the pool and said, man, you better check on Mr. Hamp. And they took the ambulance came and got him today and took him to the hospital. I thought, oh, man. Because he was old. So when I got off work that day, I called the hospital for it. I said, James Hampton still patient. I said, no, he caught a cab. He went home today. Mr. Hampton should be at home. So when I walked in, James went, oh, buddy, I thought I was going home today. And I said, what happened? He said, I ate up one of them things is pork sauce. And one of them things he was talking about was a tube of Jimmy Dean. You know, and now a tube of Jimmy Dean's is like this, but back then a tube of Jimmy Dean's was like this. So we talked a little bit, and he said, I ain't gonna do that no more. So I said, James, you got some water. This is before bottled water. And James always kept a good glass pitcher of water in his refrigerator. So I went to get some water. And he said he was gonna quit drinking too. So I go to the refrigerator to get my water. Well, there's a tube of Jimmy Dean's, it's this long. And I said, James, how much of this did you eat? He goes, I ate him all. I said, how did you eat all of that? He goes, I cooked him up in a black skillet, maybe with some white local. Just painted that picture perfect. And I said, well, James, since you're going to quit drinking, you want me to take the Budweiser off of him? He goes, what you talking about? I said, the beers you got. He went, oh, I'm gonna drink my damn beer. Like, didn't even count. You know what I'm saying? He didn't even consider drinking beer as drinking, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? And so I said, James, how long have you been drinking? He said, son, I'm 74 years old. I got drunk for the first time when I was 14. I've gotten drunk every day of my life. He said, look drinking anymore, Rachel. He said, those damn cigarettes and stress, the two things he You know how long James ended up living? 94 years old. Wow. There's something to that. There's something after getting stress out of your life.
I'm good at drinking every day.
And I'm not an advocate of eating a tube of Jimmy Dean sausage, but I get it. I can do it. You know what I'm saying? I can see that. Yeah, cheers, y'all.
Suitcase, Worlds apart, hearts broken sleepless nights, losing ground, I'm reaching for you. Feeling that it's gone, can't change your mind if we can't go on. So survive the times of someday love will find you, break those chains and find you. One night will we find you, hell will touch you in our separate ways. Beauty never hurts you, true love won't desert you. You know I still love you, no return to when our separate
So one of our favorite places to eat there, which we actually ate at twice while we were there, was a food truck. It was a falafel food truck, and they sold Euro cones. If you haven't had a Euro cone, you're really missing out. So if you go to Nashville, make sure you stop at one of the falafel trucks and get yourself a Euro cone. That's exactly what it's called. It's got lamb, cheddar cheese, tzatziki sauce, onions, tomatoes. I think they had parsley in there, but it is so delicious. The lamb is so good. The pita is so soft. It's a party in your mouth. So if you go there, that was the only place we went to twice, was actually the Euro food truck. So make sure you stop in there for a bite, get yourself a Euro cone, and enjoy it. Thank you so much for joining me again today. That will be the end of the Nashville videos, unless we go back to Nashville, which that's not out of the cards. I mean, we may very well do that. There's so much more that we wanted to see. At least visit other parts of Tennessee. I mean, there's just a lot to do there. I mean, it's a music city. There's a lot of museums, which are my favorite. Museums are actually my favorite thing to do when we go out of town. I have to visit the museums, and I have to go on a ghost tour. Those are like thing one and thing two, the two items that I just have to do when I'm away. And there were so many museums there. I think if we were there for 2 weeks, we wouldn't have been able to see them all. That's how many there were. It was just crazy. If you are near there and you do have a little more time, I did look some up, when I got home. There's a Willie Nelson museum there as well. Loretta Lynn, she replicated her cabin on a hill in Butcher Holler, and the Loretta Lynn estate is there. It's an hour outside of Nashville, so you would need like a rental car to get there, but I thought it was in Kentucky, and that's our next stop is Louisville, Kentucky, but in fact, it's there near Nashville, in the Nashville area. There's a House of Cash, which I heard was closed down, but I'm not 100% sure of that. And there's many, many others. We didn't get to visit the Patsy Cline Museum, which I'm kind of sad about, but like I said, it was a very expensive trip, kind of, put a little dent in our account, so we couldn't really do everything that we wanted, but it was a great time. I know that you will love it. Make sure to go there at some point in your life if you haven't already been. And that concludes today's episode. I'll see you next time.